Hey everybody, Bonehead from the Bonehead podcast, and we've got a very cool unbox and review for you today. It is the Punga Kickstarter. Now, the Punga Kickstarter that's live at the moment is both Dark Elves and High Elves, but we're going to focus in this video on the Black Sail Corsairs themselves. We have got hold of most of the Dark Elf team and a few of their stars, so we are going to unbox this box, have a look at the Kickstarter for the Dark Elf team, and build a few models. Okay, so the Black Sail Corsairs Punga Kickstarter is live now. It's being run by Fellowship Games, who are basically organise and distribute, I think, the Kickstarter. I don't know, they've supported them in the last few times, and it's gone very well. You just need to ask Blood Tithe Ben. Much Blood Bowl. Anyway, Punga are back with a big Kickstarter. Now, this one is only 2 teams and a whole bunch of star players, but we've got Dark Elves and we've got High Elves. So the Kickstarter's live now, and as the point of recording, there's 2 weeks left to go. It finishes on the 28th of November. At the moment, it's nearly 500% of its goal, and it's just going to keep going up. But we've got a team here to look at, and we've got some of the models as well. So let's have a look and see what you get with the Dark Elf team. So Dark Elf pledge, there are multiple pledges here. You've got the beginner pledge where you can just buy add-ons. So if you want some of the star players we have a look at, like for example, if you just want the pair of Witch Elves, or if you want some of the actual stars, then you can select that one and jump on there. But we're looking at the team, and the Black Sail Corsairs tier is £72, so $85. You're going to have to pay postage on that as well. So if you're in England, you're looking at about £80 to £85 probably. If you're US, it's probably about $100, something like that. It comes with 2 assassins, 2 runners, 2 witch elves, 4 blitzers, and 6 linemen. So a full team of 16. 6 linemen, 4 blitzers, 2 runners, 2 witches, 2 dark elves. Now, you are probably covered for most of your builds. If you are an absolute mad lad and love your lineman build, you might want to add a few extra linemen, but otherwise you are very much covered in every way for the Dark Elf team, including the assassins is really good as well. If you think about the Games Workshop one, where you need 2 boxes of Dark Elves and then the Forge World assassins, that's over £80 without any postage, so it's actually really comparable. The difference is it's Punga, and they're all beautiful and individual sculpts. So we'll start with the Dark Elf team. So the Black Sail Corsairs, you can see the actual sculpts here. They've got every single one of them is an individual. 2 different Witch Elves. You've got these 4 blitzers at the front here. You've got a whole bunch of different linemen. In fact, there's 6 lineman sculpts and 3 of them are female. I think all the blitzers are male, but it's good to see a couple of like variations in there. The assassins are so cool. The runners are really cool as well. I do like that. I'd be hard pressed not to want to use my assassins as my runners, but I don't tend to run assassins in Dark Elves unless it's a tournament environment where you know you're going to have hack phlegm to bully. Anyway, point is 16 brilliant individual sculpts for £72. Now, as we scroll down, there are stretch goals as well. The first one is kind of gone, which is the first 48 hours, which was the Dark Kraken star player. We do have that model. We will have a look at it. And the stretch goals are live at the moment. You've got team markers, all the tokens. You've got an executioner, a doctor, a mascot, wizard, Dark Elf assistant, and there will be more added because it is Kickstarter. Now, I guess one thing to call out is that the majority of these models are actually produced already, so they're expecting to be able to ship these within a few months, and they've put an estimated delivery date of April next year, but they've put very clearly that actually they're going to be able to start shipping in the next 6 to 8 weeks, which is really cool. So if you back this now, by the time it closes, there will be some people that get this before Christmas. I think realistically you're looking at February. But as far as Kickstarters go, that's not bad. This is going to wrap up at the end of November, so just within 2 to 3 months you can get this. Their estimated is April, which is only, what, 5 months? Which is the difference to me when I back a Kickstarter. Anyway, we'll scroll down quickly and have a look at some of the sculpts. I know you've probably already had a look, but they've got some very cool sculpts. Now, if you are a Warhammer player of old, or maybe one of the newer generation of Age of Sigmar players, they have the Dark Elf Corsairs. Now, the Corsairs were so cool in Fantasy Battle 6th edition because they had the double repeater bolters. It was just wicked. But they've got this style, and the style that Punga have gone with the Dark Elf team is so reminiscent of that. You've got kind of vampire-y aesthetic where you've got like the flared armor pieces and you've got the jagged edges. And the thing I really love about this is they've got all this the scales of sea dragons, I think they were, all kind of mixed in with the armor and like the motif. Here you go, you got another blitzer here with that sea dragon cloak. It's so Dark Elf. It is a really cool take on Dark Elves that sits superbly in the Games Workshop Blood Bowl world. And every time you look at a third-party Blood Bowl team, it has to fit the aesthetic or fit within itself. This does both. Anyway, great blitzers. You've got 6 line elf, 3 male, 3 female. Again, a ton of dynamism. You've got a guy crouching, ready to go. Everybody else is jumping around. It's really good. The witches are brilliant, scary, with big old talons. And, of course, the big witch elf hair, which is ubiquitous when it comes to witch elves. The assassins are probably my favourite models of this team. That cool skull mask is just wicked. Like, the cloaks are great. There's a ton of like movement there as well, which is brilliant. But actually the skull masks, it's just proper fantasy assassin. I love it. The runners are great. They look like banditos. And you've got some kind of 3D rendered versions and some actual physical versions. Now, there is also a high elf team in this Kickstarter, but we've got that too, so we're going to do that in a separate video so that in another year's time, those people who are like, I need a high elf team, or I need a dark elf team, can watch the video just for that team specifically. But as we're in a Kickstarter, it is worthwhile showing off some of the extra stuff. We've got some great star players. The Dark Kraken star player, which we are going to have a look at in a second. He's got that mask, which fits in really well with the dark elf team, with the tentacle bits. Lokir Felheart, I think. And you've got some more really good assassins at a really good price. So $8 each for these guys added on. You don't have the star player kind of repertoire in Blood Bowl at the moment that existed once upon a time. What you do have is really cool models for mercenaries, or really cool alt sculpts for what I think is a really good value. If you think about Forge World Star Player, a Forge World Star Player, £21, which is what, $30. So you can get almost 4 of these individual models for the price of one Forge World guy. And you got some really great alternates. This guy, again, we don't have the star players available at the moment, but actually they make great blitzers. They make great stars. You've even got Manticore. I don't know why. I don't care why. And you've got some really great ones. The Slayer Sisters are my favourite. So if you're in the market for a couple of just next level witches, then actually this is brilliant. We've got these. We're going to have a look at one of these as well. Or each for $8. There you go. You can pick up a couple. You've got the Witch Elf Stars, and there's even a band, which I really love. Again, it is quite baffling, but I love it. You've got some great alternate star players here for elves, and even for some of the human teams as well. So there's a ton of great add-ons. So even if you don't want a whole team, actually, you can spend 50 quid and get every star player you're ever going to need, basically, from Punga. And when it comes to Punga, the quality tends to be remarkably good. And on that note, let's actually have a look at the models. Okay, so we've got a bunch of different players now to build and have a look at. We've got our size comparison, which is the Games Workshop Dark Elf model, one of the ones from the Dungeon World box. I figured that was the most appropriate for this Kickstarter. And the first thing to call out is in the description of the Kickstarter, they say their models are printed out, ready to go. Now, we've probably got some pre-production models here from Punga. But if they are printed, I don't think these are printed. I think these are resin cast, which is potentially even better because we've got years and years of Punga demonstrating how good they are at casting and producing resin models. And if you look, you can't actually see any support marks at all. So I believe that even though in the description it says that we've started printing these players already, I think that they are actually resin cast. Let's have a look. I can't... How crazy is this? I don't know if that's a mold line or just the line of the trousers there on the left hand side. How crazy is this? We've come such a long way in such a short amount of time for Blood Bowl that we've got a packet of models here, and I cannot tell you how they were made. Literally looks like Picard could have walked up to a wall and said, "Tea Earl Grey hot, and by the way, can I have a Dark Elf team too?" Now, impeccable production, and I'm hoping you can see this as clearly on the video as it deserves to be shown. The casting is just so crisp. I'm almost speechless. Now, one thing to point out is that the model does come in a bunch of different pieces, which I wasn't expecting. Now, I think that's because the description says we started printing these models already, which made me think, they're going to be like 1 or 2 3-piece prints, which is what we've seen some of the Blood Bowl manufacturers go to recently. But this is not that. This is multi-piece, and I believe it is resin. So what we get to do is we get to actually have a look at building a few of these models, because actually, as far as the kit goes, you've got a lot of players and a lot of players with a lot of pieces. So this one here is the Blitzer from the title page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. It's unusual. I wasn't expecting it, but actually, if that is the price you pay for getting crispness like this, then I'm on board. Oh, there's a teeny tiny bit of flash there, which makes it think these are cast. Now, they're cast, fine. And they're in pieces, fine, because there's no prep here. You might have a couple of bits of like mold line, a couple of bits to tidy up, but they are minimal. And this is ready to go. So I tell you what, let's build it. Okay, that took very little time, and like I said, no cleanup at all required. In fact, something I didn't really get a chance to show before I glued the model together, but we've got a few other models to look at. Where the plugs are for the arms to go in or for their head to go in, they're kind of split in half, which means that when you insert the plug into the hole, it fits even better. There's no ambiguity. There's only a little bit of wiggle room. I mean, look at the gap around the neck. There's like nothing. And they're very cleverly built so that each of the joins kind of blend into, I don't know, like a bit of armor or something like that. But look at the crispness of this model. Let's try and get the nicest focus point, because this is unbelievably good quality. This is so good. Right, this is one of the blitzers for the set, so let's have a look and compare it to a Dark Elf, a Games Workshop Dark Elf. Okay, it's passed the initial scale test, and I'm really happy with this. So this guy on the left by Games Workshop is crouching ever so slightly. This guy on the right by Punga is standing up, and the height is about right. The Punga one is a little bit taller because he's standing up straight, but otherwise the proportions look absolutely perfect. They've absolutely nailed that, which I'm not surprised by. I mean, I have nothing else to say when it comes to the Blitzer. The model goes together really nicely. I was worried, I was dubious, because 6 or 7 pieces for a model seems egregious these days, but it took 0 time to build. It took no preparation. It was snug as you like. I've been terrified by some of the recent Forge World kits. That was not a problem at all. This, terrifying to build. This, an absolute doddle. It's going to take a bit of time, but not a lot of effort. Okay, we've got one of the lineman positionals here, and before we go any further and build it, I just wanted to try and show you what I meant by the plugs being split, and this is the best shot I could think to get. So we can see here, can I see if we can point? Do you know what, Ben? This is a camera. Let's point here. You've got this kind of wedge. This bit is cut out. This is like carpentry, right? Where you take a notch out so the wood lines up. And you've got it on the arms too. So if you can kind of see there, it's kind of cut away a little bit. And then when you have an adjoining piece, let's see if we can get the good shot. You see it's kind of cut into a semicircle place there. Or in this one here, there's an even deeper recess. So it goes into the recess, but there's kind of a half moon shape to plug it in, and the same is true of the neck, which is really nice. And you can only pull that off if your resin casting is on point. And this is resin cast. You've got a couple of little air bubbles there deep inside the model, and that is the only way I can really tell that this model hasn't just spontaneously apparated. Okay, so that's one of the line women built, and you know what? I'm super impressed. It got to the point where I was gluing the top knot on, and I got myself a little bit confused as to which way the model, like the top knot, goes onto the model, and because of the little D cut in it, it only went in one way, and it went in perfectly. So I'm super impressed. Right, a couple of things. They are resin cast, so you may want to wash them before you clean them up. Now, these ones do not feel greasy in any way, shape or form, but it is likely that there's some release agent on there, so be careful. It's not hindered my ability to glue it at all, and I cannot feel anything on my fingers, but when it comes to painting the model, if you prime a model that's got release agent on it, you might struggle a bit. Now, I guess the call out is that the pieces are quite small, so if you're going to do it that way, then be careful you don't lose them, or glue them and use super glue, because you're going to need super glue for resin models, and then give them a wash once you've glued them together. This is the downside of all resin models, but if you trade that versus the quality, you're good. It's fine. It's a very decent trade-off. Okay, so that's one of the line elves built. Let's bring in our size comparison piece again. And this is a female dark elf, and she looks a little bit slighter than the male dark elf from Games Workshop, but the height works, the head size works, the hand size works without looking like a clown. Yeah, perfect for the scale. Now we've got a couple of the different positionals left to build up, so I'm going to go build those, and then again we'll look at the models and look at the sizes. Okay, so we've got the Blitzer that we've already looked at. We've got the Line Woman that we've already looked at as well, and now we've got some of the other positionals. So the first one we're going to look at is the Assassin, and again, like I said at the beginning, this is one of my favorite pieces in the entire set. The faceplate is so cool, the dynamism's great, and again, this guy went together with no problems at all. I think it's definitely worth calling out that if you get this kit, you need to dry fit every model. But given the amount of time it takes to clip out individual pieces from a plastic kit or tidy up pieces from another resin kit, it's not a problem. It's just kind of get the models out, dry fit them. Does it work? Is there anything you need to take away? I've had to cut away absolutely no bits of flash, but there might be something where the fit doesn't go quite right. It's definitely worth dry fitting. But dude, look at this. The quality is just insane of this model. Of all of these models, you wait till we look at one of the Slayer sisters. Again, size wise against a lineman, it works beautifully. It works perfectly. So they've got another tick there. I've got one of the runners too, and again, this guy was what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, maybe 6 pieces, and it was no problem at all to put him together. And I think you can see it like, this is a separate piece, but it goes in there so snug. It's solid. Like, this is a resin model with small pieces that I'm very confident about throwing about, which is going to probably upset people on camera, but you're good to go, which is wonderful. Don't recommend throwing models ever, and definitely make sure you use good super glue. Size wise, again, he fits in perfectly with Games Workshop scale, which means that fits in perfectly with the rest of the team's scale, and I'm so happy. This is such a cool team. Right, I went to build one of the Witch Elves, and I realised that I built one of the expanded Witch Elves instead. There's that Slayer Sisters, where there's 2 for $15 or 1 for $8. This is such a cool model. This is so I haven't built a Witch Elf. I've built one of the star player Witch Elves instead. I mean, the hair is just worthy of Dragon Ball Z. The fact that she's flying through the air and that's the mounting point is so cool. This was full of small pieces, so this is definitely a warning. Some of these models do have small pieces, so the hands were separate to the arms and the arms were separate to the bodies. But because of their way they use that semicircle sort of plug system, it was fine to build. There was no stress. I'm impressed. Like, this is an advanced kit, but because the models are so well cast and so well prepared and so well sculpted, that actually that well, I was going to say the little extra bit of time, but if you print a model, if you 3D print a model, you have got to clean it up. If you buy it in plastic, you've got to trim it out and take off the mold lines. If you buy these guys, you have to dry fit and glue it together. That's it. Look at the outcome, and again, size-wise, it's just such a cool player. Such a cool one. I'm super impressed with this, I think, more than any. Now, before we kind of wrap up and look at our final thoughts, we do have the star player to build. So this is the octopus-faced kind of, I think, Lokir Fellheart was what it used to be called. Doesn't exist in Blood Bowl at the moment, but it's kind of the poster child star player of this kit, and I couldn't not show him off, and I couldn't not build him in this place. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, and again you can see the plugs all sorted for you. It's nicely, very nicely cast. So this is going to build in no time at all. But like I said, oh look, that might be a little bit of flash we need to tidy up. There you go. I'm going to feel like I'm building I feel like a prop. No, I've just pulled it away. There you go. There you go. That's the total amount of work I've had to do to prep these models to build, and I'm glad I caught it on camera. But let's build the star player. And there we go. The octopus-faced star player has been built, and I think you probably would have caught me shaking my head a little bit through that video because it's just so satisfying. They almost click in like Lego. It's not quite like that, but just, you know, you pick up the arm, you put a dab of glue on, you put it in the right location, you twist it ever so slightly, and it just kind of goes ka-chunk in place. It's phenomenal. So really, really, really cool. And it's the star player of the set, isn't it? If you're an early bird, you've got it already. Size wise, he's good to go. And the cool thing about stuff like this is you don't have to use him as the star player, mostly because currently the star player doesn't exist. I assume he'll be back at some point in Blood Bowl. But what you do have is, well, I was going to say, this is your blitzer. If you're playing in a tournament, this is your blitzer with tackle. And there you have it. This is the Punga Kickstarter Dark Elf team. This is just phenomenal. Like, absolutely phenomenal. The sculpting is brilliant. The casting quality, the production quality is just outrageous. So the models are lovely. The overall design of the team is really nicely done as well. The scale is perfect to Games Workshop. The team comes with the bases and things like that you'll need as well. I mean, pros, everything we've just seen, everything I've just said. Cons, they are small pieces, and it is resin. So the reason I guess I'm stressing this quite so much is because it doesn't feel like it. The pieces are so well produced, it doesn't feel like a standard resin kit. I'm just so used to building the Games Workshop ones where you end up scraping stuff away and chucking and, you know, using these to kind of make stuff fit. This doesn't feel like that at all, so I have to keep kind of reminding myself that it is a resin kit. It's been beautifully produced, so if that's important to you, you can triple tick that off. If you want a good looking team, you can quadruple tick that off, because this is awesome. Value wise, it's what you expect from a third party team in Blood Bowl, but if you think about it, for Games Workshop, 2 boxes and a pack of assassins is more than this team with 16 players and the extra stuff. So this is the same price as Games Workshop for quality that just destroys it. Okay, tier 1, absolutely tier 1. Top notch, so good. I love them, and I think Blood Tithe has shotgunned these to paint them, which means they're going to look even better on the tabletop. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think of this in the comments below, because Punga have just absolutely smashed it with this one. And yeah, we'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube Members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.